stuff that we...
And are you refreshed? Yes. Good. Now what?
I almost didn't think it was me, so wow. So I wanted to follow on what we were talking about with the last friend here, about working the bugs out of thinking that you have to work hard to earn, to allow the stuff that we've put into our vortex.
That's why the idea of leverage is a good concept, because you can pick something very heavy up, or you can use some sort of leverage to assist you. And the leverage is just plugging the toaster in before you try to toast the bread, yes? Yeah?
So recently I had a situation where all of a sudden I allowed a whole bunch of stuff, and good stuff that I wanted, but I allowed it in an unpleasant way.
Well, most of you work too hard. It all has to do with those engines that you're plunking down on the other end of the train, doesn't it? Doesn't it just get better and better?
Well, this part is great. On the other side of it, it's wonderful in a lot of ways, but...
We have to disagree with you a little bit.
Okay.
A whole lot.
Okay.
Entirely. In this sense, you can't have an unpleasant journey lead to a happy ending. Unpleasant journeys don't lead to happy endings. So you might be like most people where there was some of all of that going on, but that's just vibrationally illogical. So either it didn't turn out as good as you think it did,
well, that's...
or you had more fun than you're admitting.
Okay.
Law of attraction is law of attraction.
So do I have to worry about another shoe dropping then?
Now you do.
Now I do.
Well, think about what that is saying. That says that we're speaking for you, I have a sort of disbelief in things really going well. I believe that I have to work hard. And so if I'm trying to let good things come without working hard, then it's going to catch up with me because I haven't paid enough price. That's kind of the sentiment behind another shoe's going to drop. The sentiment behind, or the belief behind waiting for the other shoe to drop, is I basically don't think that I'm worthy or deserving of the good thing that came, and so there must be some mistake and somebody's going to come and take it back, isn't it? And so there is some cleaning up to do there for sure.
How best to go about that?
Well, first we want to say, and we sort of help you do this, we make too much of things. We talk too much about things. You overanalyze things. You're trying too hard. You're working too hard. You're thinking too much. And so much of it is just to back off into a more general place. Give us some specifics so that everybody can sort of get up to speed with what's going on a little bit.
So the specifics are, I am currently in a brand new home, very lovely, in a great community, very different from where I was living, but I got there because someone set my house on fire.
Well, you know, it's really interesting because path of least resistance is the path of least resistance. Did you like where you were living before?
Very much so.
Do you like where you're living now as much?
In a different way.
Do you like where you're living now more?
It's different. It's that expansion, as we were talking about earlier.
Expansion always feels better. And so what do you think your vibration is about this? Does this feel like it was the path of least resistance, just offering you something more than you had before, or do you feel like you've stepped back? We're understanding why you said the early words that you said, that sometimes it feels like, or that you got to some place that you rather like being, but it was a hard way to get there. So we want to demonstrate something for all of you, and then we will talk specifically about what happened. You sift through contrast and you come to an awareness of what you don't want, which helps you come to an awareness of what you do want. And for a while, this new desire is not what's most active within you, because where you're standing is what's most active within you. But you have become more vibrationally while you have not let yourself be more quite yet. But still, the expansion has taken place and your inner being is enjoying the new expansion. So let's say that you are getting to understand how this all works. And so you're focused upon what you want and why you want it. and even though it hasn't come about yet, you're becoming vibrationally friendly with this new idea, and you're enjoying the feeling of it even though it hasn't manifested. And because you're doing that, you begin to acquiesce to it. You begin to be vibrationally like it more than opposite of it. And since you're becoming more vibrationally like it, you feel better. Things are sort of clicking into place for you. And so now you're in the same vibrational attitude or mood or vibration. And so you have a new manifestation. And the new manifestation is lovely, but the enjoyment of it is rather brief, because along with the new manifestation comes a new set of contrasting experiences, which gives birth to another rocket of desire, which at first you're not up to speed with, but then you become vibrationally friendly with it by focusing on it, and then you move into vibrational alignment with it, and then it too manifests and brings along with it another set of contrasting experiences. And so on and on and on it goes. This is what, in a very simplistic example, this is what the expansion of the species is. It's what the evolution of all desire is. Well, often what happens to people instead of that is that they have a new desire, but they defend their reason for wanting the new desire by pointing out how things aren't going so well, rather than moving into alignment with it as we just described. And then it causes them to launch a stronger rocket of desire, which they don't accept either. So it's sort of like, I want it, but, and I want this, but, and so it's the engine going that way and the engine going that way. So the stakes just get higher and higher and higher, and you're sort of at a stalemate because you keep coming up with more desires or amended desires or extended desires, and you keep not allowing yourself to go there, maybe because of unworthiness, maybe because of practice beliefs that don't serve you. There are a lot of reasons that we don't need to spend any time talking about. So engine here, engine here, engine here, engine here. And now you're feeling more and more and more tension, which causes you to launch another rocket of desire. And sometimes that rocket of desire that is launched from this, stay with us, you're really going to like this. Now, the subject has moved beyond, I want that I don't believe I can have, and I want that I don't believe I can have, and I would like that, but I'm not enjoying that. It's moved beyond the specific subjects of what you think are your desires. Now a desire for freedom has come about. Now a desire to have relief of this stress has come about. Now more bigger, more important desires are being born within you, which brings you usually for the first time to more of an attitude of just giving up. Oh my God, I don't want to try so hard anymore. So what we're getting at is, if the tension has to mount a lot before you finally give in, then when you do give in, a lot moves fast for you. But the result is you had a much rougher ride on your way to a better, you follow that? So it's an accurate statement to say that sometimes you have to move through some sort of rough neighborhoods to get to the place that you really want to be. But it doesn't have to be that way, but it often is for human friends, because you believe in effort and you believe in action and you believe in your own unworthiness. And so your inner being and the universe at large and all that is having to call you through piles of resistance that you've put on your trail. Because you really could move directly from one nice thing to another and to another and to another. You could just move from peak to peak to peak to peak to peak of wonderful, wonderful, wonderful things. But you usually don't let yourself do that because you're all balled up in the flawed premise that you have to pay a price or that you are not worthy. Have you given any thought to what happened to your house? Someone set it on fire?
Apparently, some passerby decided it would be fun to set the house on fire.
And was it fun?
Well, for them, it was.
And so how was it for you? Clarifying, first time you've ever been caught up on the paperwork?
Actually, not really. This is my third house fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, rather unusual, isn't that?
Yeah, when you were talking about earlier about how life causes us to become more, and I was listening to that and going, okay, but this wasn't quite the more that I had wanted, but it made it very easy to navigate this particular situation?
Well, it is easier to move on when the place you're moving from is gone.
Yeah.
It does sort of clarify for you. And it's sort of the example that we were talking about earlier. If you really believed that if life showed you something that you wanted, that you could just line up with it and that you would move rather swiftly to it, then you would easily and comfortably and joyfully move to it. But if you are believing that there is a price to be paid, or if you believe that you are undeserving of the motion forward, then sometimes extreme things have to happen in order for you to allow yourself to move on. You make up all kinds of things. Everyone gasped just a little bit, but everyone is doing that to themselves in some kind of ways. There was a woman we visited with some years ago who lived in an apartment complex that she really did not like at all. And she had a cat that lived there with her. And then the apartment complex gave out new rules that no pets were allowed. Well, she didn't want to move. It was a lot of trouble. And so she just hid her cat for a period of time, sneaking out at night with the cat. But finally, because of the cat, she found another apartment and was much happier in it. And we said to her, you wouldn't move for yourself. You never liked that place, but you'll move for your cat. So often you hold yourself in places that you really are less happy than you could be. But in the process of that, you're creating a vortex that is calling you. And that vortex will call you along your path of least resistance. And so it happens all the time that your vortex or your inner being or the source within you is calling you to something that you want, but for some reason you don't go because you feel inferior, or because you feel incapable, or because you've just got these engines going in the opposite direction. So this is an example of desire being stronger than belief. Let's just put it to you that way. When you've got desires that are stronger than your beliefs, and the desire gets stronger and stronger, it's like pulling a rubber band back, and not much happens, and finally you let go and a lot happens. It's like that. So the question that we have for you, can you acknowledge that there was desire that was calling you into a new place that you were resistant about going to?
Oh, definitely. I mean, not from a living space point of view, but from just a moving forward point of view. There are other desires.
The trouble of moving? Can you identify what some of the beliefs or statements that you were making? Because this is for sure. You wanted to move on. It took 3 fires to do it. That was funny. You could laugh at that.
I am.
You wanted to move on, but why were you not? What kind of things were you saying that was holding yourself back?
It was a lack of not being able to see the path forward.
It was needing to know how and where and when and who.
Exactly.
So you really wanted something, but you couldn't see the path. So in the absence of knowing the path, you held yourself back from it in a rather strong way until the universe created a path. Don't you find this interesting? And don't you relate to it in some ways too? So can you see that it could be to your advantage to lighten up a little bit? So now, like the first conversation that we had today, what are the emotional reasons? Can you give us some general statements or reasons about wanting to move on, wanting to move? You are blocking it with practicality. In other words, it takes time. First, you got to find a place. You got to figure out how you're going to do it. You got to figure out how you're going to pay for it. You have to find somebody to maybe help you with that. And then you got to box everything up. Not you, but
no.
And then maybe what you had in the last house won't look so good in the new house. Not you. So you've got some desires and you've got some beliefs. So can you find, without going into detail about the specifics of the place and how it looks, can you tell us what feels good about moving on?
Freshness.
Adventure, something new.
Something new.
And can you tell us what would keep you from doing that? Because we could feel the freshness light up in you, but clearly you weren't allowing yourself to go toward that. Why? Effort?
I guess it's the practicality.
Is there somebody else in the house that didn't want to move?
No.
Only you?
Just me.
Just you.
I can't lay this on anybody else's doors.
We don't want to do that either, because it's always whatever you're doing. But let's say that I want to move and my partner doesn't want to move. So that would explain why I didn't move. But what if it's just you? I want to move and I don't want to move. What if it's just me? My desires and my beliefs that don't go along together. So if the desire is stronger, I'm going, but the universe has got to find a way through the crack of least resistance to get me to go. Isn't this feeling clear to you? So you found the way 3 times to go.